Hi again, boys and girls. This lesson is for those of you in preschool through the first grade. And here we are, Dublin Community Church Sunday School online. All right, well, we have been working through the alphabet, and we have come up to the letter P this week. Only one more week until we will actually stop talking about the letters of the alphabet. So in 2 weeks, we're going to stop that, and we're going to talk about Advent. Do you know what Advent is? Advent is that very special time of year as we lead up to the birth of Jesus. And you know what that day's called, right? Christmas. That's right. So I just want you to know and look forward to the fact that we're going to join your group and the other group for one video as we talk about Advent in 2 weeks. Not this week, not next week, but the next week. Okay? After Thanksgiving. All right. As we think of all the things in the Bible that begin with the letter P, today's lesson is about a person. Hey, that begins with the letter P also. And that person's name was Paul. But his name was not always Paul. We've talked about Paul before in Sunday school. And he's given credit for writing a large portion of the New Testament. But did you know that Paul was not always called Paul because Paul did not always follow Jesus? Nope. As a matter of fact, before he came to trust Jesus on a road to Damascus, he actually worked against Jesus. You see, he was on this road to Damascus because he was going to arrest some of Jesus' followers at the time. So Saul did not love Jesus. But while he was on that road to Damascus, and this happened a while after Jesus rose from the dead and went into heaven, actually, Saul was on that road to Damascus when Jesus came to him and spoke to Saul. And Saul, as a result of that, came to faith in Jesus. He realized that Jesus was the real deal, sent from God to save the people from their sin. Now, sin is just a word that we talk about once in a while that just means things that we do that don't please God. And we know what many of those things are, like talking back to our parents or not sharing, right? Those are things that we know God would not like. Well, we're going to pick up today's lesson a while after Saul's name was changed to Paul. So this was after he met Jesus on the road to Damascus. And guess what? After some time, Paul just came to love Jesus and his teachings. And he traveled to visit new lands to tell people all about Jesus. Traveling back then was really, really, really hard. It's not like us where we can get into a car and we think it's hard because we have to sit in the car for several hours. But back then, they had to walk for several hours to get somewhere and not very far at all either. And sometimes if they needed to, they would take a boat like we do. And sometimes they would ride a horse or a donkey. I wonder if they ever rode a camel. Interesting. What do you think? Well, sometimes if Paul wasn't able to travel to talk to people about Jesus and the things that Jesus did and taught, he would write them a letter. Now, he often wrote letters to churches, and he sometimes would write letters to people. And I want you to know that that's the New Testament books of the Bible are letters that Paul wrote. So you can actually read some of his letters. I wonder what he would write to us today. What do you think Paul would say if he was living today? He might encourage us to keep the faith during this pandemic. Just hang in there. We know that some sacrifices have to be made, especially around the holidays. But if we're faithful and we trust God to help us, we will make it through. Okay? Okay. You will be back in school in a normal way one day in the future. Okay? Just hang in there. Now, back to Paul. Paul didn't have an easy life. The leaders at that time would often get mad at Paul for telling others about Jesus. In fact, sometimes they would even put him in prison. Another P word. And Paul, even though he was in prison, continued to tell others about Jesus. That's pretty brave, I think. There was one time even when Paul was a prisoner, another P word, and he was being taken to Rome in a ship. And a big storm came and caused the ship to wreck. Wow, I bet that was scary. But everyone was kept safe, and Paul told them that God protected them. He also went on to tell them how Jesus had healed the sick and performed many miracles. So many of those people that were on the ship with Paul came to believe in Jesus because of his teachings. How about that? God is amazing and powerful, and it's so exciting to tell others about God. Now, Paul also spent a lot of time praying for people. Oh, that's another P word. We can pray for others too. You know that, right? In the papers attached to your email, you'll find a prayer jar activity. It will show you how to make your own prayer jar, okay? So go ahead and have fun making that today, remembering to pray for others like Paul and tell others about Jesus, especially as we come close to Advent. You can tell others the story of Christmas. All right. I miss you guys, and I hope we can see you soon. You take care. All right? God bless you. Bye.